pressure continues to mount for the resignation of Education Secretary Professor Jacob Kaimenyi over the botched laptops tender. The Parliamentary Committee on Education is set to meet this week after Kaimenyi ignored a 24-hour ultimatum to step aside. This comes as the battle for the 24.6 billion shilling tender is set to move to court.
The heat is rising for Education Secretary Professor Jacob Kaimenyi at the beginning of what is said to be an important week for the fate of the 24.6 billion shilling tender to supply 1.2 million laptops for Standard 1 pupils in public schools. The Parliamentary Committee on Education just will not let Kaimenyi off the hook. A member of the committee, Mboni MP Kisoi Munyao, reiterated Sunday that Kaimenyi must go.
I'm not only calling Professor Kaimenyi to step aside, I'm calling the President to set a good example by firing Kaimenyi immediately so that all the other cabinet secretaries can get to know that this country is not going to condone corruption.
This despite Kaimenyi's pledge to conduct an internal audit and bring anyone found liable in the messy tendering process to book.
When I pick my conscience, I can tell you with absolute certainty, I don't see any justification for resigning.
This comes against the backdrop of new developments on the troubled tender. It has emerged that Olive Telecommunication, which had initially been awarded the tender, will move to court this week to appeal the ruling by the Public Procurement Administrative Review Board. Sources have told KTN that the Indian firm has lined up top Nairobi lawyers Mohamed Nyaoga and Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi to handle the case. In a full-page advertisement in the local newspaper Sunday, Olive Telecommunications sought to explain what it called the truth on the laptops tender. In the advertisement, Olive said that the tender provided for companies to bid individually or as part of a consortium, and that it was awarded the tender as part of a consortium together with the top 500 Chinese company, New Century Optronics. Another point raised by the Public Procurement Administrative Review Board while nullifying the tender was Olive's presumed financial inability to provide 1.2 million laptops. In the advertisement, Olive explained that as a consortium, it has the capacity to service the tender. The review board instructed the Ministry of Education to start a fresh bidding process in the next 45 days. Either of the other two companies which had been shortlisted, Haya and HP, is expected to win the tender. However, Olive's court move has thrown a spanner in the works. It is not clear what will happen should Olive win the appeal. Could the government be forced to pay the Indian company? This comes as the government is preparing a second supplementary budget to factor in funds to pay 2 Anglo-leasing contracts after losing court battles in Europe. Kenya has agreed to pay Anglo-leasing 2 billion shillings up front for 2 of the 18 contracts, in payments which could ultimately see a 125 billion shilling dent in the public coffers. If Olive wins the court case, the country could follow a similar route, paying millions for goods and services which Kenyans never enjoyed, as failure to pay up would damage Kenya's credit risk profile. And Parliament insists that government should clean house from top to bottom.
President has nothing else to do now. He must fire Kaimenyi, or he must know that Kenyans are watching him, and 2017 is just on the doorstep.
Will Kaimenyi become the first Jubilee Cabinet Secretary to succumb to the heat? And will the Exchequer suffer from the Jubilee government's inefficiency in implementing its own premier election pledge? Ben Kitili, KTN.